global problem. In the United States alone, more than 5 million people have the disease, and a new diagnosis is made every 67 seconds. Numbers that are just a fraction of worldwide totals. Among medical researchers, Alzheimer's is a top priority. Researchers working with astronauts on the International Space Station are embarking on a mission to discover the origin of Alzheimer's. Although the details are still a little fuzzy, researchers believe that Alzheimer's and similar diseases advance when certain proteins in the brain assemble themselves into long fibers that accumulate and ultimately strangle nerve cells in the brain. They're sort of like the crankcase sludge of the human body, explains Dan Woodard of NASA's Kennedy Space Center. The fibers are not active, so they'll be around forever because your body doesn't have any way to get rid of them. These fibers take decades to form and accumulate, hence the link between Alzheimer's and aging. In laboratories on Earth, researchers have figured out how to make protein fibers accumulate more quickly so they can study the process without waiting so long. On the space station, accumulated fibers do not collapse under their own weight, which makes the station an even better place to study them. A 4-inch cube containing the experiment, which was selected in an ISS research contest by Space Florida and NanoRacks and built at the Florida Institute of Technology, blasted off to the International Space Station on board the SpaceX-5 cargo resupply mission early 2015. The experiment itself, SABLE, or Self-Assembly in Biology and the Origin of Life, a study into Alzheimer's, will be fully automated. However, observations from this experiment alone won't lead directly to the discovery of a cure. SABLE is geared more towards understanding the way that Alzheimer's progresses, not towards creating a pill to stop it from happening. Although this experiment is only the first in what will surely be a series, Woodard is optimistic that it could be an extremely valuable learning experience. Everybody wants a cure, but without knowing the actual cause of the disease, you're basically shooting in the dark. We don't understand the true mechanism of the disease. If we're lucky, then we'll find out whether proteins will aggregate in space. Only in weightlessness can you produce an environment free of convection, so you can see whether they form on their own. We expect to learn incrementally from this. Eventually, projects like SABLE could lead to the discovery of a method to slow down the rate at which the harmful fibers grow, thereby opening a window for a cure. After the samples are returned to Earth and are examined underneath an atomic force microscope, Woodard speculates that the cause of Alzheimer's could surprise us by being deceptively simple. There have to be chemicals or processes that hinder or encourage the growth of protein fibers. It may be something as simple as temperature or salt concentration of the fluid in the brain. Strange but true, the key to unraveling the mysterious cause of Alzheimer's disease may not lie in the recesses of the human brain, but rather in the weightless expanse of space. If an answer is ultimately found, it could very well spring from the microgravity of Earth orbit, off the Earth, for the Earth.
You would not believe who we have with us today. I mean, this guy not only flew on the shuttle, not only did a 6-month increment on board the International Space Station, not only did 6 EVAs, but the guy's a captain in the U.S. Navy, a former Navy SEAL. He ran, swam, and biked the Ironman, and he is tougher than Chuck Norris and the $6 Million Man combined.
Okay, Tracy, let's go back. Oh, come on, settle down.
He's also the chief astronaut. It means he's my boss. Hey, man,
Hey,
it's so good to have you here with us today.
Yeah.
I am like beyond excited to have you on the show.
It's really cool to be here and be part of it, yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you're pumped up, too. You know, I think that not everybody out there knows that you just became the chief astronaut, and you are no stranger to being a leader amongst people. You were quite a leader during the time you were a Navy SEAL. So I got to wonder, are there any comparisons between being a Navy SEAL leader and an astronaut leader?
Oh, man. It's that's a good question. I think it's different in each environment. When I was a young 22, 23-year-old guy, it was fun to lead sledgehammer carrying Navy SEALs, and I don't think that's quite the clientele we have here in the astronaut
We try.
But yeah, it's all good either way.
So talk about Chris Cassidy as the scientist on board the space station.
Yeah, that's almost doesn't sound right, because we don't feel, at least when I was there, I didn't feel like the expert scientist. I felt like the person who was executing the plan for the expert scientist, and they had really good procedures that tell us exactly what to do, because there's so many things that are there for us to help with. And I don't know if you felt the same way. It's just lots of different experiments, and there's no way we could know it all as the astronaut.
Absolutely. And there was actually no typical day on board the International Space Station. You're either doing maintenance, you're doing science, you're getting ready for a spacewalk, or maybe a visiting vehicle, and you got to grapple it with the robotic arm. So our brains are constantly going, and that's why, like Chris says, you end up, you can't be an expert on any one thing, but you just got to be able to absorb information, a lot of it, in a short period of time.
Yep. And there's this pressure of, people have put a lot of their heart, blood, and soul into that thing, whatever the thing is, whatever the experiment or equipment or you name it, and there's this underlying pressure of, I don't want to be the guy that screws this thing up.
That's right. Well, today on Station Life, we're talking about biological research.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of any? Can you remember back to any of the experiments that you did that had a biology focus on them?
Yeah, what sticks most in my mind were the ones of which I was the subject, and I was part of one called Pro-K, which was put protein to potassium ratio in my diet. And we would do this particular diet for 4 days at a time and take blood and urine samples throughout those 4 days. I don't know if that was one when you were up there.
Yes, I have very fond memories of Pro-K, but also I was so, like Chris said, we've got this 4-day menu that we eat specifically formulated.
You have to eat all of
everything.
The stuff, and you can't undereat, and you can't overeat. You got to eat only that. That was the hardest part, I thought.
I thought so
was
too.
Getting on the right glide slope about lunchtime to be done so you weren't at 7 o'clock going, oh my God, I'm so hungry.
That's one of those interesting experiments where you eat food for a week, you draw your blood, and then you use some instruments on board the station, like a centrifuge, and a minus 80-degree freezer to store the samples, and then we wait for a...
And remember, there was very specific times on when it comes out of you until how long it has to rest, and then go in the centrifuge and spin, and there was very regimented. You couldn't dilly-dally with any of those steps to get it from you to the centrifuge to the freezer.
Our space station, in terms of life, we have an environmental control system that takes water and cycles it, everything from sweat to urine, and turns it into water that we actually drink.
You're being too polite. It turns yesterday's coffee into tomorrow's drinking water.
I was just, you're right. I was being too polite, but. That's the other part about the station that actually, it's biology too, where we're we're learning how to recycle things, recycle life. Water is life, and if we're going to go further on.
And that's so critical, to going further than pushing the boundaries of where we are now.
Yes. So I just want to say, Chris, it has been a real pleasure talking with you, and it's been a real honor to have you on Station Life, and we'd love to have you again sometime, but thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your experiences with us here today.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, man.
Thanks a lot.
You bet. Thank you.